friend is the nicest thing you can have and the best thing you could be. At this moment, when I look back, the only thing I can be proud of is having a bunch of good friends. If any one of you connected with your childhood friends, if yes, I would say you are the one of the luckiest person in this world. Because those days we had no expectation, just play, have fun, right?
Yes.
I still remember when I was studying in my first standard, there was a boy who was short, dark, and very energetic. His name was Dineshan, and everybody used to call him Karumban, means dark. Even I used to call him, and I used to bully him. I torture him so much, he gets irritated very easily. I used to torture him like I put out my leg across the path he walked to make him fall, or I pull his shirt from the back to much of his annoyance, and he sit just in front of me. So what I do, I keep my leg on his back, which irritated him so badly. So he tried to always avoid me all the possible way. But the sadist in me always go behind him and torture him, which I enjoyed very much. One day, he gave me 25 paisa and requested me not to trouble him. I became very happy. And while going home, I bought some candies. The next day when I came back, again, I put my leg on his back and asked for money. And this continued for some days. Then one day when I reached my school and I got into my class, I saw Dineshan was sitting alone in the class in one corner. I went to him to do some naughty thing, but when I saw his eyes was filled with tears. Then I felt sad and I asked him what happened. He burst out with full tears and he told me the whole story, how he used to get the money for me. He used to steal money from his father's pocket. And on that day, his brother caught him. And he got nice beating from his father and scolded from his mother. Even I felt sad and we both cried. Ever since then, we became thick friends. Then we continued studying in the same class till 10th, then gone to college. After college, I took engineering and he was doing BSc. After that, we lost that touch. Maybe some years back, when I was going back to my native in bus, surprisingly, I met Dineshan. It was one of the joyous moments I could recollect. And that whole night, we were chatting, we were speaking and cherishing all old memories. At this moment, I wish everyone a happy friendship week. What I believe is, friendship happens by accident, many a times by accident. It is not a pre-planned thing, right? So in Toastmasters, I believe that probability to meet that accident is much, much higher because of its friendly environment and diverse group. And this term, we are trying our best to keep that in line because we believe the strong bonding among members is very essential for a club to grow. So with that note, now I would like to introduce the next person coming on stage. He is very familiar in Bangalore Toastmasters and almost Toastmasters fraternity. He joined our club when he was a student. Now he became an entrepreneur. He has a startup called More Than Textbook. More than that, the surprise element is he is the latest addition to the DTM club from BTMC. And he is the youngest DTM from our club. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for DTM Lilith as TMOD for today.
Thank you, President, for such a lovely introduction. And it's always nice to hear you. And it's always fantastic to listen a beautiful introduction from you. Again, speaking of Friendships Day, I think your friendship, your and my friendship goes a long time well in back. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, if you're excited for the meeting, type excited on the chat box. Okay. If you need a shoulder to cry on, you need a friend. You want to share your darkest secrets, you need a friend. If you want to be a great husband, wife, son, mother, brother, or sister, you must be a friend to that person. The only way to have a significant relationship, you must be a friend. The greatest TV show in the world is also Friends, and a dog is also a man's best friend. Now, what are these things that I just said? Well, my dear friends, it was the 11 quotes I Googled straight out of Google. Where did I get this? From my friends. When I spent time back with them in college. So when I was in college, they say, right, your friends are the most influential circle around you. And pretty much in college, what one guy does, the entire group does, right? So back in the day, I realized that whenever I went to exams, my friend would use Google to learn for his exams because all the money that was given to him, he would spend on drinking. Of course, he was a very high-spirited person, who was always on the very high of getting high marks. So this was the way he used to get his high marks. Now, the friend that I used to always ask for help. He used to say, Lalit, you must help a friend in need. You must help a friend in need. I said, my friend, what is your need? And he said, I have to pass this exam. Then my other friend walked up to me and he changed the quote. I remember I told you my friends love Google. This time he, instead of saying a friend in need is a friend indeed, he said a friend with weed is a friend indeed. Now again, what happens is when you're with a set of friends, you usually aim for the stars when you're high on marks. So my dear friends, we are the summary of who we are. Now I'm not saying, I was in that batch of friends, but I should say that the kind of people you surround yourself with is the summary of who you are. So I decided to change my friend circle when I was 18 years old. I walked into a Toastmasters club for the very first time and I made friends with people who were my father's age. Little did I know that these superiorly experienced people in Toastmasters would go on to become lifelong mentors. And I must say, these mentors have been the greatest of friends to me. Let me take an example. Why do we love Robinson sir so much? Of course, he has the wisdom of Gandhi and the knowledge of Einstein and Toastmasters, but why do you still respect him so much? You know why? Because he treats you like a friend. Have you ever seen Vijay Anand walk into a physical meeting? The first thing he's going to do is go talk to every single guest. How does he do it? Because he thinks like a friend. So ladies and gentlemen, if you want your Toastmasters journey to be successful, if you want your life to be a successful one, if you want your relationships to be successful, if you want to be a great leader and a successful leader, you must be a friend. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pride and pleasure to be here to take over this meeting for the next couple of hours and anchor it. And I must thank the committee for giving me this wonderful opportunity for taking up this role. On that note, let me explain to all the guests about what Toastmasters is, who started it, and why are we here? Number one, Toastmasters is a group of people. It's a community where people come together for specific reason. And the reason is to become better at public speaking and communication skills. It was started back in the 1920s by this man called Ralph C. Smedley. Now, Ralph C. Smedley, even though with a strange name, I can honestly tell you also had a strange idea which turned the world into a different place. He started Toastmasters in Santa Ana, California, and to date, it's there in over 94 countries, and it has over 4 million Toastmasters worldwide. Toastmasters also hosts the World Championship of Public Speaking. So if anybody is in questions about what Toastmasters is, I can simply say Toastmasters is what ICC is for cricket, right? Toastmasters is that for public speaking. So as Toastmasters progressed, it soon in the 1970s started adding a lot of women into Toastmasters. So for considerable amount of time, for 50 years, it was only men. But as women came into the picture, there was more variety, there was more, you could say, a flavor, there was much more clubs springing up all throughout the globe. And till date, District 92, which we are a part of, has been one of the best districts in the world. Toastmasters, Bangalore Toastmasters was started in the year 1997, and we are happy to have one of our founders, Robinson sir, right here with us. It's been close to, you could say, 24 years now since it started, and it has changed close to 5,000 people's lives over its period. I must say Bangalore Toastmasters is also revered as one of the best clubs in the country, and I am a super proud member of Bangalore Toastmasters Club. On that note, a normal meeting is usually scheduled in 3 specific parts. The first part is a prepared speech part. This is where members come prepared on a specific guidelines called the Pathways Education, which is set by Toastmasters International. The Pathways is where every single Toastmaster will have to go through in order to learn the fundamental steps of public speaking. Based on these guidelines, these members come prepared with a speech which they have worked with their mentor, with other people around their circle to come and give it in front of you, which will be evaluated in the last section by an evaluator. They say what goes around comes back around. So once you give a speech, you will get in return a feedback, which will in turn make you a better speaker. So that's the last part. And in between, we have the most exciting part in today's meeting, which is the table topic session, which is an impromptu pick and speak session where members come and speak without prior preparation. Also, in addition, today, we have a special guest who is going to give their educational session, which I will talk to you later in the meeting. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we start off with the first segment, I want to introduce, on behalf of the general evaluator, the tag team. Can we quickly have the timer, our accountant, and grammarian quickly spell out their roles and what you guys do?
Yeah.
Timer, please.
Thank you, Lalit. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. As a timer today, I will time the proceeding of the entire meeting along with prepared speeches, evaluations, and table topics. I will also alert the speaker of the time they have left by displaying green, yellow, and red cards. For the prepared speeches, I will display a green card in my background at the end of 5th minute, and yellow at the end of 6th minute, and red at the end of 7th minute. Similarly, for evaluations, green at the end of 2 minutes, and at the end of 2.5 minutes, yellow, and red at the end of the 3 minutes. And similarly for table topics, at 1 minute, I will display green card, and at 1.5 minutes, I will display a red card. So at the end of the meeting, I will provide the report on my timing. Thank you. Over to you, Lalit.
Thank you. Can we move on to the R counter, please?
I am
I think the R
Robinson.
counter is Chetan.
No, I am Robinson. I am the counter. Good evening, everyone present here. The purpose of our counter is to note words and sounds used as a crutch or pause filler by anyone. I will listen for overused words like and, well, but, so, you know, etc. And also sounds like or repeating words or phrases which are not necessary. At the end, I will give my report to the general evaluator. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robinson, sir. Can we move on to the last member of the tag team, which is Chetan, sir?
Yeah, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, as grammarian, it is my responsibility to pay close attention to all the speakers, listening carefully to their language usage. I'll take notes of any misuses of the English language as well as any outstanding uses, quotes, sayings, or thoughts. As grammarian, it is also my duty to introduce the word of the day. For today's meeting, the word is confidant, which means a person with whom one shares a secret or private matter, trusting them not to repeat it to others. An example of using the word is, within a few short years, my friend was a trusted confidant. My sister today is not only my best friend, but she's my confidant and a great defender. Each speaker is encouraged to use the word of the day. I will give a word of the day report and grammatical usage report when called upon during the meeting. Over to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Chetan, sir, and thank you for my wonderful tag team who helped me. And sorry, I'm the old conventional, old school guy, you could say. In terms of Toastmasters, I don't tend to pay attention to the listener. However, the listener, over to you, my friend.
Hey, so good evening, my dear Toastmasters. I'm Deepak, I'm the listener. So a famous Greek philosopher once said, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. So today as a listener, I'm really going to test your ears. So please pay close attention to today's contents as some tricky questions are await you at the end of the session. Back to you, Lalit.
Thank you. I have a quick question. What's the philosopher's name, Dr. Rajdeep Manwani? I've heard him use the quote. No, never mind. So ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to the most awaited part of today's session, which is the prepared speech session. Now, like I said, prepared speeches are from your pathways. And before I introduce your first speaker, let me introduce to you your evaluator for the first speaker, that is Simran Chopra. So Simran has been a fellow committee member back in the day along with me. So for all the members who are coming up here, I've asked a few set of questions to introduce them better. So I asked Simran, if money was no objective, what would you buy? And she said she would buy an island. I'm interested to know where this island you'd want to buy, Simran. The second one is, I asked her, what do you do when nobody listens to you? Now, here's an amazing answer. She said, nobody would definitely be the name of my son, because I've never seen him listen to me. So that's a very witty answer. And the last one I really liked was, I asked her, which celebrity would you want to be best friends with? And she said, I would love to hear some of their stories firsthand, but I'm happy with my nest friends rather than best friends. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's hand over the virtual stage to Simran to evaluate her speaker, Achyuta.
Thank you, DTM Lalit, for that amazing introduction. Good evening, Toastmasters. The purpose of this speech is for the member to demonstrate that he or she has applied the feedback received from his or her first speech. Timer, please note, this is 5 to 7 minutes.
Thank you, Toastmaster Simran. And moving on to our speaker today. So I also asked him the same set of questions. And the first question I asked him, if money did not matter, what would you buy? I think he answered what I would say. He said, I would buy a Lamborghini Aventador. I don't know how many people are around here. I wouldn't buy a Lamborghini until I became a rich in a lottery or something like that. On the other hand, I also asked him, okay, so I asked him, if name 3 dream vacation spots you'd like to visit. And here are the 3 places that he said. He said, I'd love to go to Greece. He also said, I'd love to go to Scandinavia, and he'd love to travel to Kenya. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's welcome our first speaker for today, Toastmaster Achyuta, with a huge round of applause.
Hey, quick audio check. Am I audible?
Perfect.
Okay. Good evening. Did you know that about 21.6% of India's geographic area is covered by forests? Don't you agree that after a long week or month, you can get that much needed respite by spending some time in nature? Spending time in nature is one of my favorite things to do. And it happens to get better when that nature is far away from human civilization. I am, of course, talking about the forests which have wildlife. Out of the 21.6%, about 24.1% of the forest area are reserved forests. Watching animals in their natural habitat has always fascinated me. When I was a kid, I used to watch National Geographic and Animal Planet all the time. And so I wanted to watch wildlife with my own eyes. That brought me to Kabini Jungle Lodges and Resorts, which is close to the Nagarhole National Park. The forest there was lush green and filled with life. One could see loads of cheetal, sambar, Indian gaur, and elephants all around. Speaking of elephants, they are amazing creatures, but they are quite intimidating. And they're surprisingly fast for their size. How do I know this? Well, the first safari there, we got charged at by an elephant. Tons of muzzle and hide charging at you at a rapid pace is not a sight to behold. Not to mention the intimidating huffs and trumpets and the display of their physique through the trunk and the ears. But thankfully, it was just a mock charge. The naturalist later explained that if an elephant actually meant you harm, it would charge at you silently with its trunk drawn inwards. It's kind of scary. Anyways, the very next day, it happened yet again. Being a 13-year-old, I could not comprehend that fact. I was very scared. We overcame this herd of elephant crossing the jungle path. So the driver decided to stop a safe distance behind. And he turned the engine off. I remember thinking to myself, why does this man want to get us killed? Is he crazy? Anyways, later, we waited patiently, and after the elephants had passed, we drove along. As soon as we passed them, one of the members of the herd decided to turn around and charge at us again and scare everyone again. On one of the other safaris, we overcame this pack of wild dogs. They were about 16 in number. They were following the jungle path along with us, stopping in between for micro breaks and continuing to march on. This happened for about 2 kilometers until we let them get a bit ahead of us. And consecutively, we heard the warning calls of a langur. So we figured that there must be a predator lurking around, possibly a big cat. 100 meters down the road and a minute later, we found that the predator in question was the same pack of wild dogs we were following. Within the 2 minutes that they were out of our sight, they had killed and completely eaten one whole deer. As someone who grew up watching Animal Planet, this didn't disturb me very much, but looking at it in retrospect, I find it rather fascinating. There was this whole system of animals working in tandem. I would rather call them beings, working in tandem, just as they're meant to. The thing with wildlife is the more you see, the more you're interested in it and the more you want to see. Similarly, we wanted to take one more animal off our bucket list, the Royal Bengal tiger. This brought us to Tadoba, which is in Andheri National Park near Nagpur. Now, unlike the forests of Karnataka, this place is very dry and arid, and it's open, so spotting animals is very easy. And if you visit in summer, it is guaranteed that you are definitely going to see a tiger there. So we did just that, braving the heat, the dry heat of the sun and temperatures of 45 degrees Celsius. And it was worth it. We saw 3 different tigers 4 different times. But out of them, one of the tigers will remain in my mind, etched in my memory forever. And it so happens to be that she was the only tigress that was given a name by the locals. She was called Maya. We spotted Maya late one afternoon, lying under the trees near a pond. She was there for a whole hour, unbothered by the people around her. Later, she decided to cool off in the pond and spent quite a while there as well. She was about 50 feet away from us at that point. During the golden hours of the evening, she decided to relocate. She got out of the water, shook herself, shook the excess off, went up the bank near a tree, marked her territory, and started walking right towards us. There were 5 other jeeps, but she was walking right towards ours. We expected her to change course, but she did not. She kept walking royally, slowly. She was looking calm, but still she looked fierce. She got so close that we could hear the quiet thumping of her paws against the sand. Not until she was 6 feet away from us did she change her course. We all had cameras in our hand, but none of us could move a muscle. It was as though we were frozen in time. That was the presence of a Royal Bengal tiger. And then she was merely there. She wasn't aggressive, but still we felt some primal fear through our body. So these are just a few of the memories I've picked up along the time. And many remain to be told. Having experienced wildlife more than an average human, I'd like to say that I find nothing but respect for all the animals out there, the forests, the trees, the nature, and everything. Thank you, and over to you.
Wow, that was a fantastic speech. Ladies and gentlemen, can we give Achyuta a wonderful round of applause for the speech he just gave us? Thank you, Achyuta. It was like virtually visible, the jungles, and I'm quite a animal freak myself, so I could definitely resonate with all the heart thumping and the excitement that would pop up every time you'd see a wild animal. Fantastic speech, and one more round of applause for Achyuta as we move on to our next speaker. Up next, we have Mahesh giving his speech, and evaluating that is Mr. Lokesh. So again, I asked my good friend Lokesh a few questions.
Sorry, Lokesh is giving the speech, Mahesh is evaluating.
Sorry, my bad. Okay, so it's the other way around. So I asked my dear friend Mahesh and Lokesh both the same set of questions, in fact. So what Mahesh had to say for the questions that I had to ask him was that, just give me a moment. Okay, so Mahesh, do you want to quickly introduce yourself and introduce your introduce the project, and then I'll introduce you.
Thank you, TM Lokesh. The purpose of this project is for the member to learn or review basic research methods and present a well-organized, well-researched speech on any topic. Timer, please note the speech length is 5 to 7 minutes. Over to you.
Okay, thank you, Mahesh. So these are the questions that I asked Mahesh, and this is what he had to say. I asked him if he had all the money that he could buy, he could have in the world, what would he buy? He said, I would buy a caravan and go on solo trips. That's what Mahesh said. I also asked him if there was one celebrity if you would want to be best friends with. I asked him who that would be, and he said Akshay Kumar. Wow, that's a surprising note. Well, thank you, Mahesh, for quickly reading out Lokesh's guidelines. So, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to the next part. Okay, thank you. Well, we move on to the next speaker, that is Lokesh. And when I asked Lokesh the same set of questions, I ask him, what do you do when nobody listens to you when you're speaking? He says, just enjoy the fun. I think, Lokesh, you'd get into a fight, but I think you're a man with brave strength. Yeah. I also asked him, which celebrity would you want to be friends with? And this was a very smart answer. He said, I'd want to be friends with Ratan Tata. Remember, guys, when people say that, if you make friends, make the ideal kind of friends so that you can become like them. Now, well, Lokesh has a tendency to choose amazing friends. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, let's call upon Mr. Lokesh, whose speech title is Be Your Own Superhero. Be Your Own Superhero, Toastmaster Lokesh.
We all know that Wolverine in the DC movies had a titanium claws. But do you know that he had an amazing ability? A bullet wound healed itself very fast. What if you could heal yourself? My purpose today is to share with you how you can heal yourself. Toastmaster of the day, my fellow Toastmasters, and the esteemed guest. After the movie was released a few years ago, I was speaking to my sister, a confidant, whom I share everything, and I said, hey, Wolverine has such a nice ability, I wish I could heal myself. And she said, if you want to heal yourself, search online about pranic healing. And we continued with our conversation. After the call, I Googled pranic healing and learned that there's a pranic healing center on St. Mark's Road, very near to Ashirwad, where we conduct our club meetings. And of course, I got busy with life. Last month, I happened to go to the St. Mark's Road and I remembered. So I walked into the pranic healing center and I see a gentleman sitting on a chair with his eyes closed and a lady standing behind him and waving her hand on top of his head. And after a few minutes, the lady said, healing is done. A little later, I asked the gentleman, how are you feeling? And he said, I have migraine. And this is the first time in 20 years that I don't have a headache. I'm relieved of my headache. I was surprised. I asked the lady, what did you do? And she said that what gives life to us is the prana or the life force. So, apologies about this. Sorry, it is an autofocus. What gives life to us is a life force that is present all around us. And pranic healing is based on two principles. First is the principle of life force. The principle of self-recovery. First principle is the principle of self-recovery, which means that the body has ability to heal itself. For example, when we suffer a fracture, a doctor puts a cast itself around the area and the body heals itself. Whenever you have a mild headache or a pain, you rest for a while and headache is gone. So our body knows how to heal itself. That's the principle of self-recovery. And second principle I learned from the lady is the principle of life force, that the natural healing can be accelerated by increasing the life force or the prana of this person. How do we do that? And she says that when we inhale oxygen, this life force is also inhaled along with oxygen, and that improves our health for us. And then I asked, what do you do? Do you work here? She laughed and said, no, I work at Apollo Hospitals in Bangalore and I volunteer my time as a healer here. I was surprised. I said, medicine and pranic healing, how do they gel together? And she said, pranic healing and medicine, they are complementary to each other. And she told me that there's a huge amount of research done on pranic healing. And she asked me to check pranichealingresearch.com. After returning home, I went and Googled pranichealingresearch.com and I learned there's lots of research done on pranic healing all over the world, USA, Bolivia, Brazil, in Apollo hospitals in India, Ramaiah Hospital in Bangalore also, and many other places on diseases like cancer, obesity, infertility, and many more of this. In fact, World Pranic Healing Foundation of India has a research center at Mysore, where they have extensive documentation on application of pranic healing in agriculture, effect of yoga and meditation, which has been published in the reputed journals like Journal of Clinical and Diagnostic Research, Indian Journal on Agriculture Research, Indian Journal on Science and Technology, and many other journals also. I also learned that pranic healing heals not only the body, but can also be used to heal the mind. Dr. Mary C. Clark, a licensed psychologist in Arizona and California, in her book, Pranic Psychotherapy, mentions that pranic healing can be used to heal phobias, compulsive disorders, traumas, anxiety, all forms of addictions. In fact, people who are mentally challenged and children with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, they have been helped tremendously using pranic healing. NIMHANS has books on pranic healing available for reference for people in their library. Yeah. I also learned that pranic healing has been used by many people. The Tarun, who's the ex-MD of Thomson Reuters, uses pranic healing to remove the stress. Then Gautam Khanna, the CEO of Hinduja Hospital at Mumbai, he uses pranic healing to improve the communication with other people also. Then Hari Sudha Kumar, as head of R&D for Nokia, he uses pranic healing to improve the teamwork in his global multicultural team. To conclude, I learned that pranic healing is a modality which uses the life force of the prana present in air to heal yourself, heal other, to heal your body, to heal your mind. And also, Pranic Healing Foundation of Karnataka offers online courses and the weekend courses, classroom courses, to learn about pranic healing. And I would recommend you to learn pranic healing, transform your life, and be your own superhero. Over to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Wow, that I must say was quite a comprehensive and informative speech, Mr. Lokesh, because I, for one, was always on the wonder of what is pranic healing. I did not deep dive into the subject, and thank you for such a lovely speech. Can we give a huge round of applause for Mr. Lokesh? Thank you once again for such a wonderful topic that everybody needs to know about. As in today's times, especially when things are not going well, we need more positivity. We need more positive reinforcement strategies and tools that can help us. And pranic healing is definitely one of them. On that note, let's move on to the second part of our meeting, which is the most exciting, I believe, is the table topics. So, if you're excited for this one, give me excited on the chat box, Toastmasters. Type excited on the chat box. Well, to introduce the table topic master for today, I also asked him the same set of questions, and this is what he had to say. I asked him what would be his go-to comfort food when he wants to feel good. He said, in the rainy weather, I would love and prefer goulash at home on my favorite reading chair, playing Uno with my family. I unfortunately don't know what goulash is, but that sounds extremely fun, table topic master. I also asked him what was his favorite destination where he would love to go visit one more time. And he said he would love to trek up to Mullayanagiri, which is right here in South India. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's welcome our table topic master, Toastmaster Sanjay.
Thank you.
Before we go ahead, just a small pause. Yes, Kirtana, sorry, I know the reminder. We will quickly have the voting link on for the best speaker. I'm not used to this format, sincere apologies, but we will quickly put out the voting for the best speaker and I will give you the code.
The code is 1284.
Okay, 1284. There you go. Okay. Melvin Smith says goulash is like a soup. Ah, interesting. What part of it is it from in India? Passcode again is 1284.
I think it's continental. I remember seeing it in Hungary.
Oh, really?
See here.
You can give me a thumbs up once you've entered the details. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to hand over it to our table topic master. Can we welcome him with a huge round of applause? Toastmaster Sanjay.
Thank you, TM Lalit, for that wonderful introduction. I guess all of the speakers are ready to take a cold shower. This would be uncomfortable, so I believe you are ready.
Sanjay looks frozen.
Yeah. Hello.
Sanjay took a cold shower.
He should be frozen. Not Sanjay.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Very, very much, very much.
Hey, it died down. The connection died down. I would like to call upon the first speaker, DTM Sumitra ma'am.
Yeah.
Hi, DTM Sumitra ma'am. So the topic for you is, what are the traits of a best friend according to you? I repeat the topic. What are the traits of a best friend according to you? What do you?
Okay. Thank you, Table Topic Master, for that wonderful topic. According to me, the traits that I would consider the best in a friend are: one is to be always there for you, no matter what. To be there through thick and thin, when we are happy, when we are sad, to be always there for you, without any reservations. And the second thing I consider a person to be a good friend would be someone who doesn't expect anything in return. When you do something for a friend, it's such a sublime feeling, that when you don't expect anything, you just want to see that friend happy. That would be my second quality that I would like. And I would always like that a friend who doesn't wait for you to get in touch. Whenever the friend remembers you, just pick up, either the phone or some way of communication. Today, we have so many modes of communication. Just say, hi, what's happened? I didn't hear from you. And these are the three most important things, I think. Once we have these three qualities, I think that friendship will last. And I'm proud to say that I have some of my school friends. I'm still in touch, and we spend such lovely moments together, laughing away, giggling, recalling all those lovely memories. Yeah, back to you, Sanjay.
Thank you, DTM Sumitra ma'am. So that was wonderful to hear, and things to keep in mind for all of us. It's like a wisdom we need to keep in mind. So moving on to the next speaker, Toastmaster Sujata. I would like to call upon Toastmaster Rajiv. Toastmaster Rajiv?
Yes.
So the topic for you is, hold on, I'm going to share my screen. So the topic for you is this. Can you see my screen?
Never let your best friend get lonely. Keep disturbing them.
You got the topic?
Yes.
Okay, I'll stop sharing the screen.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for giving me this topic. Yeah. So I will pick up this word disturbing in a totally different sense, right? Disturbing means is enjoyment is I feel like that, right? Don't let your friend win alone. So whenever you can see whether they are in a happy mode or their good time is going on or their bad time is going on or they are in a bad mode, make sure you are always touch in your friend. Okay. Friend is something where you can really, call them anytime. You can share, even if you are not in a good mood and if you are going in a bad time, you can also pick up that call and share with that. So, and I have one friend who is in the US, and I can tell you whether it's a day or a night, we always go and for any issues, right? Whether it's a job related, family related, outside anything, we go and share with them. That way, what will happen? You will get a one person who can really check your decisions. One person who can really give you some advice, and then you will feel that yes, I am doing what supposed to be right. Okay, so I think that's where I'm taking this word is disturbing. Back to you, Tebul.
Thank you, Toastmaster Rajiv, for sharing your wonderful thoughts. So I would like to call upon the next speaker, Toastmaster Alok. Yeah, Toastmaster Alok, the topic for you is when you are 8 years old, what will matter to you the most?
When I'm 8 years old?
Yes.
You can stop sharing your screen actually.
Okay.
Well, yesterday I was at my nephew's birthday. My nephew is presently 5 years old. In fact, he turned 5 years yesterday. And I don't think being 8 years is as much. There is a lot of difference between being aged 5 years and 8 years. And when I look at him, I really understood what matters to a 5-year-old kid. And maybe that is what is going to matter to me at a time when I'm 8 years old, not to be bothered by anyone, I want to be my own boss. I don't want someone telling me I need to do this or I need to do that. Don't do this, don't do that. I just want to be laughing, smiling all over the place. What I observed yesterday was he was laughing at the silliest of things. He was laughing at the smallest of things, which I think is something that we tend to forget as we become older, or to use that phrase, become more mature. I think maturity is another word of is another way where you describe that you're losing your charm in life. In order to be happy, you need to be a little immature at times as well, and that is what I saw yesterday. And second, at 8 years old, I think I would also want to love unconditionally, without expecting anything from anyone in return. So that is what I saw yesterday as well. He was not judging anyone by the gifts that they're presented. He was not judging anyone by the number of gifts. He was not judging anyone by the size of the gifts. He was just happy all over the place, just happy to be there as an 8-year-old. And I think that is the biggest lesson. And the third most important thing was he was enjoying every moment of his birthday yesterday. Right from the moment he got up to the moment he went to bed, maybe at around 9:30 in the night, he was enjoying every moment. His school friends wished him. Then there were a bunch of relatives that wished him, and he had his food. I think he was enjoying every moment of his life. And that is what, you learn from kids. There is this old saying which goes on to say, child is the father of man. I think that becomes very relevant. When you're 8-year-old, you become a kid, you are a kid, and you need to learn to enjoy every moment of your life, be happy with what is there around you, and learn to love unconditionally. And I think this is what would matter to me when I'm 8 years old, and hopefully even when I'm 80 years old as well, because as we grow older, we tend to become children again. Maybe that is the reality of life. be it 8 or be it 80 years, love unconditionally, be happy with what you are, and just learn to enjoy every moment of your life. Back to you, Table Topics Master.
Sanjay, you're on mute.
Sorry. So yeah, thank you for sharing the wonderful thoughts, Toastmaster Alok. Yes, we definitely need to be involved with the life with our hearts completely, and not let our critical minds get in. Get its thoughts in our and stop expressing ourselves fully in our lives. And moving on to the next speaker, Toastmaster Pratik.
Yes.
Yeah, the topic for you is, when was the last time you met your friend in person and what was the conversation about? I'll repeat the topic. When was the last time you met your friend in person and what was the conversation about? Over to you, Toastmaster Pratik.
Yes. So last time was around a week ago when I met who's a classmate of mine and who's been a friend for life, because it's said that if you're a friend with someone for around 10 years, they remain for a lifetime. So that's how we've been friends for a lifetime. So the last topic, when we met, we speak on a range of topics. So one was with the current pandemic scenario that not been able to go out. And also the other was right now I'm at my hometown. So earlier when I used to come to my hometown during the vacations, we used to meet frequently, but now because of work, we don't get to meet in spite of being here. And we were actually cherishing about our previous visits and about running towards the Chamundi Hills here in Mysore. And so there's a place where we all meet. So that's something we don't go now. So we are discussing across a range of topics, and it was about it's just about we are not able to make time. Back to you, Table Topic Master.
Yeah, thank you, Toastmaster Pratik. Yes, we all do need to make time and meet in person once the situation becomes normal again, and get to know our friends as we used to before Corona. Yeah, thank you, Toastmaster Pratik. So the next speaker I would like to call upon is Toastmaster Surekha ma'am.
Yes, please.
And the topic for you is, what questions do you often ask yourself? I'll repeat the topic. What questions do you often ask yourself?
Thank you, Toastmaster Sanjay. And the question that I often ask myself is, am I like my mommy? My mommy turned 89 just a couple of days ago. Let me tell you about her story. She was 27. When she was 27 years old, she had 3 children of 10, 6, and 4. And when she was 28, her husband was convicted of murder, and he was sentenced to life imprisonment. After that, she raised and educated her children. Her daughter was very pretty at the age of 18, but no one wanted to marry her because she was a murderer's daughter. She got her daughter married to her sister-in-law's son, who was a hardcore addict, and he died in bankruptcy and because of cirrhosis of the liver. Then her second son went into acute clinical depression after being a very flourishing lawyer in Pune and committed suicide. And her third son had a roaring homeopathy practice in my hometown in Kolhapur. And one day when he didn't come for dinner, mommy went to call him and found that he had injected himself with insulin intravenously. They were able to revive him, but now he lives a life of mental retardation of a 5-year-old. But through all this, mommy has not lost her stability, her unperturbability. She is absolutely grounded within. She's never asked, why me? She's always asked, why not me? Friends, it's not the load we carry, it's how we carry it that truly matters. Mommy is one such significant example of that. She knew that she could never change the tides, but she has learned to swim. And if I want to ever ask myself that question, I'll ask like how mommy did. God, don't give me a lighter load. Give me a stronger back. Come friends, let's live our magnificence by making that theory our masterpiece. Over to Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Toastmaster Surekha ma'am. That was wonderful. Yes, we all need a strong backs, and that's what we need to ask. Not for the challenges to be easier, rather the strength to endure all the challenges and wait through the life easily, as Surekha ma'am has mentioned. Moving on to the next speaker, Toastmaster Sakshi. Toastmaster Sakshi.
Yes.
So the topic for you is, I'll share my screen. Can you see my screen, Toastmaster Sakshi?
You'll have to scroll down.
Okay.
Friend.
Yeah. When your best friend starts telling an embarrassing story about you in front of everyone. So what was that embarrassing story? With that said, I'll stop sharing my screen now.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for the topic, Toastmaster Sanjay. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. So yeah, this keeps happening several times. So when I was in college, so the common thing was I looked quite young that time. So yeah, I'll go to the theater or I'll go to a pub. So they'll ask me to produce my ID. So yeah, that became embarrassing many times. And my friend, she'll tell everyone after, that happened. So yeah, that's one thing that keeps happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, some of these instances has also happened to us. Thanks for sharing your story, Toastmaster Sakshi. Moving on to the next speaker, Toastmaster Krishna, Sandy.
Yes, Sanjay.
So the topic for you is, how did you meet your best friend? I'll repeat the topic. How did you meet your best friend? Over to you, Toastmaster Krishna, Sandy.
Thank you, Sanjay. How did I meet my best friend? In fact, I have a very closest circle of 5 friends, and I call them as my best friends because all of them play a very crucial role in my life. I'll talk about one of those people. The first person that I met was in my college. I met her only for 2 months and she got married by that time. But even now, even if I want to do something, the first person I call is her. I started studying for an exam these days. So I just called her and told her I want to get up early at 4:30. So just get up at 4:30 with me and that's it. And this is a person I have met only for 2 months. I repeat, only for 2 months, and she has become one of my closest friends. And she would do that even now. So if you ask me what was the most memorable moment, I don't have any memorable moments. Each and every moment with all these people are so memorable that I cannot place that to just one person in my life. All these people have got their own share of stories and their own support system, and these are the people who would always bring that kind of peace, that kind of support in my life. And when I look back, these are the people that I met during my school, my college, my marriage days, and my office. So I met my best friends all in different phases of my life. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. Yes, we do develop deeper connections with some of the people who become the best friend for our lives. So they stay with our entire lives, and yeah, they are hard to come by, but yeah, we definitely have to strive to make such connections. Moving on to the next speaker, Toastmaster Utkarsh. Toastmaster Utkarsh.
Am I audible?
Yes, Toastmaster Utkarsh, you're audible. So the topic for you is, share the best memory that you cherish with your friend or friends. So I'll repeat the topic. Share the best memory that you cherish with your friend or friends. So over to you, Toastmaster Utkarsh.
Thank you, Table Topic Master Sanjay. This is a really, really wonderful topic and something that is really close to my heart. because I have a few best friends, right? I'm only 21 years old, and my oldest friend, so as to say, is this guy called Rishabh, and the significant part of our friendship has been not doing something, not meeting or playing somewhere. It's been having conversations with him, right? And having conversations with him has enlightened me, has enlightened him in his life. And so I remember once he came over, and this was when we were in the peak of our, touch with each other. Even though we don't talk a lot now, we did a lot back then. And he had come over for these set of conversations, and we went up to my apartment terrace, and I distinctly remember this. Some of you may find this humorous, but he had found a girlfriend whom he had never ever met, and just because of one link that he got from his father, some relative, he was really good at stalking. So he was excited enough to tell me about all of this. And as we talked about what teenage love means, what the people around us mean, what certainty, uncertainty in life means, and mind you, this is all at 17, 16 years old, right? We sat down on our terrace, and I remember distinctly playing this song from Led Zeppelin called Stairway to Heaven. And it has beautiful, beautiful lyrics, and we could relate to it so much. We could relate to the angst that, sort of came out into the song. It said, there's a lady who's sure all that glitters is gold. And we wondered about people who only love gold. Do they fill themselves up inside? Are they hollow inside? And all of these spiritual questions we thought we knew, we asked ourselves, we asked each other, we found ways to answer ourselves. And this was, I think, one of the best moments I've had in life in general, and with him as well. Back to you, Toastmaster Sanjay.
Thank you, Toastmaster Utkarsh. Yeah, that was definitely deep and like a short story. It was in a chronological order, and you also enlightened us how music can bring people together, and how music can help us create shared memories. With that, I'll be handing it over to today's TMOD, Toastmaster Lalit. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Sanjay. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a huge round of applause for our table topic master for selecting the table topics also according to the theme. A wonderful job done. Now, they say feedback is the breakfast for champions, and I believe everybody in BTMC is an absolute champion. For years and years, one thing I've understood in the last 7 years of my Toastmasters journey, you might not like the feedback session. You might not think it's the most interesting session, but I can promise you, in retrospect, once you finish a good time in Toastmasters, you'll realize it's the most important session. On that note, let me call upon the person who's going to quickly take over for the evaluation session. The general evaluator for today's session is Ms. Smita Roshi. So with the same thing, I asked her the same set of questions, and to quickly introduce her, I asked her, if money was no objective, what would you buy? She said, all the things that could deck up my house. Well, I think you're the perfect mother material who's looking to always improve the house one up a notch. My mother's had the house for 30 years and she always thinks it could be better. I also asked her, what do you do when nobody listens? She said, I practice my speeches and I do my singing. I also think, ma'am, now for the kind of speeches you've been giving, everybody must listen to you. And finally, I asked her if there are 3 specific places where she would go. She said she'd definitely go to Bhutan and Switzerland. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's welcome the general evaluator for today's session, Toastmaster Smita Roshi.
Thank you, Lalit, for that wonderful introduction. Thank you so much. Good evening, Toastmasters and dear guests. There are a few things which I cannot tell my husband. After all, what does he know about the latest sleeve length of dresses? There are a few things which I cannot tell my children. What do they know about my dilemma of planning for the breakfast day after day? There are a few things which I cannot tell my parents. Yeah, it's too much. Some things are just too much for them to take. But what is it that I can't share with my friends? My friends, I call them my circle of friends. I call them my ventilator, my life support system. And as Bangalore Toastmasters is continuing to celebrate the Friendship Day, Friendship Week, actually, I have made some awesome acquaintances that is later bloomed to friendship and confidence. Just like my circle of friends, today we have a circle of experienced Toastmasters who will be giving their valuable feedback about the proceedings of the meeting. This is the takeaway for each of us, every member, everyone who is listening to this meeting. So without much ado, let me go to the proceedings of the meeting. The meeting started sharp 6:30 by the Sergeant at Arms, Kirtana. What a fabulous start. Kirtana, you knew what you wanted to say, you prepared it well, and you had excellent gestures. Very innovative way of presenting yourselves. And one suggestion, if I have, you introduce the president well, but you can maybe take up one point. You said he is witty, humorous. If you can take one particular aspect and elaborate more on it, that will give a more better way of introducing the president. Next, our secretary, Preeti. Preeti, you presented the minutes in a crisp, clear way, as if bringing alive the last meeting. In those few minutes, how well you presented the minutes. And if I have a small suggestion to give you, maybe you can try keeping background as last week's best role takers and all, so that will just bring, it will be a better way of doing it. I don't know whether it's possible, but you can try it out. What do we give them? Sergeant at Arms Kirtana and Secretary Preeti for an excellent presentation. Everybody, you can unmute and clap for them. Very well done. Next, let me go to the president, Srijit. Srijit, you started the meeting. You are very pleasant and very confident, cheerful. Even before the meeting, you were addressing all the members who came, the guests. So you had a wonderful start. And you put in the theme. You brought in the theme with a very touching story, narrated it so well. I could see Kirtana so engrossed in listening to you. And I'm sure everybody would have listened to you. A really touching story. And then you connected it well to Toastmasters, well to the Bangalore Toastmasters. It was done so well. If I have a small suggestion for you, you told, let us go to our theme. Actually, you can avoid that and you can have a smooth transition to the theme. Next time you can try it, and that will take your presidential address to the next level. Now one more thing. You introduced the TMOD very well. You were well prepared, and you brought in the surprise element, and you really made Lalit very comfortable telling about that he's the youngest DTM. And, it was really wonderful for you to say that out. As a president, you did a wonderful job. Let us all give a big round of applause to our president. Very well done. Our table topic master, Sanjay. Sanjay, excellent topics. You had topics which was well connected to the theme, and everyone who spoke, they could speak out their heart. They could relate it to the topic so well. That was wonderfully done. And if I have a suggestion for you, and it is a very important suggestion, because when you give the topic, say the topic first. Let every member think that the topic is going for them. Let them think and let them start preparing in their mind. So first say the topic and then call the person who is about to speak. That is, it's a takeaway for you, and next time you should definitely try it out. But you connected the speaker and the next topic. So where the speaker stopped, you connected it well and went to the next topic. So that was for a fabulous job done. Let us give him a big round of applause. Sanjay, Toastmaster Sanjay. Very good. I'll keep the comments for the TMOD for later. Now let us go to the prepared speeches. Speaker 1, Achyuta Kaushik. He presented his speech, Tales from the Wild, and let me call upon his evaluator, Simran, to evaluate him, give her feedback. Simran, over to you.
Good evening, Toastmasters. Today, Achyuta took us through a wild ride. It was brilliant. I thoroughly enjoyed the stories one after the other. And if I have to say something, you came across confident, articulate, with a very strong command over the English language, with such beautifully descriptive words that really took us into those jungles. In his last speech, the evaluator said that his expressions did not match with his speech. They were asynchronous, and that was something I was supposed to look out for. But I think it goes a bit beyond that. I think with such powerful stories, there was so much packed into one speech. So I would ask you, what if we took just one story, made it more descriptive, spent more time on it, and you made it really powerful, which gave you the time to use vocal vocabulary, to use variations, to use your pauses, to be more dramatic. Because I felt you were being restrictive, you holding back based on maybe what the evaluator said, or maybe because you had so much to pack in. You had 3 fantastic stories. Maybe use 1, max maybe 2, where you can create a contrast between 1 and 2. For example, from the jungles of Karnataka to the lush greens of Tadoba, instead of having 3. I think that would have given you the ability to bring about more expressions, where today I thought you were holding back a bit. But overall, if you ask me, you brought about those stories very well. You were very confident up here. If there's anything I could say in terms of presentation, I would say only when we are in an online medium, maybe have a light behind your camera and have your camera at eye level. That makes a huge difference in the way you present or the way others see you on a screen. But apart from that, I think you did a phenomenal job. Your expressions were not very off. They were very well done. And you're just starting off. I think it's more about you just letting go and exploring what Toastmasters has to offer you and using this stage to do a little bit more and not be scared, right? Wishing you all the best. You were fantastic. And I look forward to hearing more stories.
Thank you, Simran, for that exhaustive evaluation. Every word you said. I totally agree with you. To Achyuta. Achyuta, I was told by my mentors, think that you're speaking to your friends, not an audience. And that will change the whole level of how you speak. So what should we give Achyuta and his evaluator, Simran? A big round of applause. Now over to Mahesh for his evaluation on Lokesh speech. Be your own superhero. Over to you, Mahesh.
Be mindful, be grateful, be positive, be true, and be kind. To me, he is my friend and confidant. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, esteemed guest, and Toastmaster Lokesh in particular. Lokesh, you did a justice to the title, Be Your Own Superhero. The purpose said to have well-researched subject. You chose your own experience and did a comprehensive research, not just by listening to what others have said, but you researched it yourself to be very convinced. And I'm sure I myself got convinced, I'm sure even all members would have. Where you excelled, your voice modulation was very great. You used your hand gestures so well, like hand clasping for a complimentary. You started off the introduction by talking about your inquisitiveness about pranic healing, and I got glued to know what happens next. Your body covered the entire benefits of pranic healing and how allopathy doctor practicing pranic healing with a couple of other hospitals as well, including Nimhan's publishing the book. This instills confidence that I can rely on this practice. You also talked about corporate leaders practicing for bringing in stillness and holistic living. This basically talks about how we can look pranic healing as an alternate way of treatment. You also had a great closure, which allowed me to revisit and do some research where you can really work on. You started off towards the left of the frame and later on came to the center. You can check if you are in the middle of the frame before you start off. In between your speech, there was blurriness and you paused for a moment and had to excuse us, which actually derailed the flow as I was listening. Probably if you can consider practicing in front to avoid such mishap. And where you can challenge. Since this had too many data points, a summary would help to grasp key takeaways. It could also be by way of a one-pager, which you can show it on the screen since we are going online. As you still had time to cover. Also, I felt you could have shared what action you took from the research as part of a conclusion. Lokesh, you always come with a unique speech and keep inspiring us. Keep doing up the same. Over to you.
Thank you, Mahesh. That was a well-structured evaluation. And I would add to Lokesh, like I agree with you, and I would add to Lokesh's speech. I found that when he is thinking, he tends to move a little bit like this. So Lokesh, maybe next time you can try and avoid that, and it will help you to go to the next level for an excellent speech and an excellent evaluation. Let us give them a big round of applause. Kirtana, the voting form for the evaluator is
Yes, it has been shared and the passcode will be 1284. Do vote for the best evaluator and if you've not voted for the best table topic speaker, please do that as well.
So you can, I'll give you a minute or so.
30 seconds is fine, ma'am.
Now, to the TMOD of today, Lalit Dhanush, the DTM. Lalit, what energy you brought into the meeting. You just brought the enthusiasm to every member. The energy you radiated, I think it passed on to everybody. So everyone was excited and then sending out the messages. You showed the two phases of circles, saying you are the summary of all friends you have. I can vouch for that because I've seen you from the first meeting and where you are and now where you stand, the DTM that you are. You introduced the theme, you introduced the Toastmasters fraternity, you even introduced the Bangalore Toastmasters Club, the district which belongs to. That was a lot of information which you gave, and it really was good. Like Toastmasters Club has 5,000. Our Bangalore Toastmasters Club has given a new life to 5,000 people, and it's one of the best clubs in the country. So that was a very well started, but somewhere in between you lost the flow, I should say, because the listener was almost missed, and there was a mix-up of the speaker and the evaluator. So I think you needed to have a little more organization of your notes. I also wish, it's my personal thinking, I also wish you introduced all the role takers. You asked them a few questions, but some personal touch, if you had given from your part, I think that would have really made them more happy to come into the to the virtual podium. But that's my thought. It is you can take it and take the role to the next level. But I should say you stringed the meeting so well. You brought pinch of humor, and so it was a role well done. Let us give Lalit Dhanush a big round of applause. Now for my team of evaluators, the most important people, and they are going to give evaluation about every single role taker. Let me call the timer, Toastmaster Nagendra, to give the time details.
Thank you, General Evaluator, and once again, good evening to fellow Toastmasters and guests. So as of now, we are running around 5 to 6 minutes behind the schedule in our meeting. And for each speaker, if I have to elaborate timing, Toastmaster Achyuta took 7 minutes and 41 seconds, and Lokesh was 6 minutes 11 seconds. And all the table topics speakers were within a limit except Alok, who took 2 minutes 45 seconds, and Toastmaster Utkarsh took 2 minutes 10 seconds. And TMOD Lalit Dhanush overall took 18 minutes as of now in different stages of the his role. And table topics session, overall it took 25 minutes, and that was exactly well within the limit. My detailed report I will provide it to the team after the meeting, and as of now, over to you, to General Evaluator.
Thank you, Toastmaster Nagendra. Our next role player is the R counter done by Toastmaster, our all-time favorite, Robinson D'Souza. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, madam, and good evening, everyone present here. Mr. Srijit, you use the word then you repeated the word what I believe. Mr. Lalit, you use the word so 8 times, 4 times, okay twice, then E twice. Coming to Madam Smita, General Evaluator, you repeated the phrase, you know thrice, four times, and twice, two thrice, to the twice. Mr. Achyuta, use the word anyways. It should have been anyway. Working in tandem, you repeated that phrase. Mr. Lokesh, use the word titanium twice. And I see instead of and I saw. Then you said E. Mr. Sanjay, all of the above, all was not necessary there. Only all was sufficient. Of the was not necessary. Year thrice. No, it went on to 6. O 4 times. So 6 times. I mean twice. In table topics, Rajiv, you use the word 5 times, right twice, okay thrice, and 3 times, 1 twice. Mr. Alok, you repeat the word twice, you know face twice, and twice. Pratik, use the word so 4 times, and 2 times, 2 times, about 4 times. Sakshi, so twice, yeah thrice. Miss Krishna Sandy, 4 times, so 2 times. Utkarsh, right 2 times and 2 times, 2 times. Beautiful word you used, which was not necessary. Mahesh, you did a justice. It should have been you did justice. Mr. Nagendra used the word so twice, okay 4 times and twice, within a limit. No, within the limit. 10 seconds instead of it should have been, you use the term 10 seconds, it should have been 10 seconds. Over to Madam.
Robinson, sir, you just proved that what a great listener you are. Such an exhaustive report. Thank you, sir. And next, our grammarian Toastmaster Chetan.
Thank you, Toastmaster. The word for today was confident, and it was used by Lokesh, Smita, and Mahesh once. And some of the quotes which I really liked was, it started off with Lalit's statement about 11 quotes from Google. And it was mostly in line with the democratic setup of by the friends, for the friends, and to the friends. I really liked that quote. And he also mentioned that Toastmasters is like the ICC of cricket. So you kind of related to something which is very famous, and also related to something which we all relate to. And Deepak talked about the relationship of 2 years and 1 mouth. And as a listener, he's going to concentrate on how much well you use the years. I think it is a very interesting metaphor. And then again, there was another quote by Lalit, which was, feedback is the breakfast for champions. And I think that was a very interesting takeaway for myself as a beautiful quote. And Smita also talked about my circle of friends is my ventilator. And that is also in relation to what's happening with COVID right now. And we know the importance of a ventilator for a patient. So how important a circle of friends are. In terms of improper grammatical usages, Achyuta, you had a lot of pauses in between your sentences, and those pauses were not at the end of a sentence. So it was in between a sentence, so something you might have to really work out. And there was one statement you said, she looked fierce instead of fearful, right? And Sakshi, there was one sentence which you said, some instances happened like that. Whereas it was more of a present tense, so some instances happens like this. Krishna Reddy, you mentioned Krishna Sandy, sorry, you mentioned the first person I called is her. You could have used the name instead of mentioning pronoun. Mahesh, hand clapping for a complimentary was an incomplete sentence. I think it could have been a much betterly composed sentence. Over to you, Toastmaster. Thank you.
Thank you for that comprehensive report, Toastmaster Chetan. It is really helpful for all of us to get to know these small things. Now, over to the listener, Sai Deepak, for a few questions.
Yeah, good evening, my dear Toastmasters. So it has been quite an intriguing session. So I'll jump straight to the questions. So what is the name of the tigress spotted by Toastmaster Achyuta?
Maya.
Yeah, right. So the next question, how old is Toastmaster Alok Simha's nephew?
Turned
5
5.
years old.
Yeah, right. And what is the name of Toastmaster Utkarsh's oldest friend? Yeah, right. Yeah, that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Sai Deepak, for those questions. What do we give my tag role players for their exhaustive report? Let us give them a big round of applause. With that, I conclude my evaluation and hand over to TMOD through DTM Lalit Dhanush.
Thank you, Toastmaster, for such a wonderful evaluation session. I must say, Smita Roshi, you are like wine, you get better by time. And I've seen how you've transitioned so well in the last few years, especially when it comes to your evaluations and your speeches. I really like how sincere and honest you speak. And I think whatever you say comes from the right place. And that's how an evaluation session is supposed to be like. Thank you once again. A huge round of applause for this wonderful lady. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are a little late and I will keep this brief and specific. Today is a special meeting. We have a special guest for this special occasion. This person is a Toastmaster and a champion by himself. You want to ask me what kind of a champion he is? In fact, when I was sent the agenda by Toastmaster Hannah Victoria, I thought the agenda for this meeting was quite huge. And when I opened it, I only realized what made the agenda so huge was this man's credentials. Ladies and gentlemen, a person who knows humor better than any comedian himself, a person who's a champion by every right in evaluation, in speech contests, and in table topics, a person whose list, if I start reading, would only end by next week's Friday's meeting. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome an amazing and enterprising, wonderful speaker, champion by in all sense, Mr. Toastmaster Shyamraj. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the day. Am I audible?
Absolutely, sir.
Thank you. So is there going to be a change in the duration of my session? If I would be informed, I think it would help me.
No, sir. You can go ahead with the time, same time.
All right.
20 minutes.
All right. All right. Thank you. To start off, let me tell you, friends, there are 3 ways to threaten an educational speaker that comes to your club. Way number 1, you tell him that your club is a long-standing club and it has been running for over 1,250 meetings. The second is to say that the club has got close to 100 members, all from the elite corners of Bangalore. And the final point is to state that the club has a champion who has taken the district championship over 9 times. Now we have done it all. All credits to Bangalore Toastmasters. I've been enjoying all this time that I've been spending with you. I joined in and I logged in at around 7:30 and I've been enjoying every moment. I should say I've learned a lot of professionalism, the systematic way in which you have been taking the meeting through. I learned a lot from it. Now the session has been titled Humor 359 Degree. Why is it not Humor 360 Degree? Because there is no man on earth who can have a complete circle of humorous speeches. No matter how much we discuss, there is always a scope for new ways and new strategies to talking humorously. Let us get into it right away, my friends. Let us start it with a question. How many of you here on the screen believe? Shyam, I'm very doubtful. I'm not sure if people would laugh for my jokes. That is why I don't participate in the humorous speech contest. Raise your hands if you're one among that. You can show me the icon or you can show yourself and put your hands up. All right, very good, very good. Thank you. And how many of you here believe, Shyam, I'm a good speaker. I'm not bad. I'm a good speaker, but then I'm a serious speaker. I can convey an emotional message. I can convey a motivational message, but don't call me for humorous speaking. Is there anybody like that? You believe in your speaking style, but you don't think you can crack humor. All right, fantastic. Okay. Now let us first start reasoning out. Let us find the reasons why we feel so and then step into the nuances of humorously speaking. Imagine that you are in a movie that is full of comedy, all right? That is full of jokes. You are in the theater, you are in the multiplex. How would you feel? How do you feel the audience in the theater? Don't you feel everybody is roaring with laughter? Don't you see everybody is jumping on the seats and enjoying the jokes? Yeah. Now, imagine the same movie telecasted in your television. You are sitting with your family. How would you react? Would you react the same way you reacted in the theater? No, definitely not. There is silence everywhere in the hall and people do not shout with laughter. People do not clap their hands, but then they sit silent and they enjoy it. And the final question, imagine that the same movie is being played in your laptop and you are the only member in the audience. You have your earphones plugged and you are listening to that movie. How would you react? You won't react. Am I right? You're going to sit in silence and you're going to just look at the screen. You're going to stare at the screen. See, the LOU, the level of understanding of an individual is very different from the level of understanding of a mob, the level of understanding of a crowd. When you think that a joke will not work, when you think that the joke will not be so successful, you are thinking as an individual, my friend. You are evaluating your script as an individual. Do not evaluate your joke as one. The joke that you rejected might work with a crowd. So this is the first learning. Now, the second question was, do you think you're a serious speaker? All right. How many of us know Abraham Lincoln? We all know, don't we? Abraham Lincoln. Has anybody seen or spotted a photograph of Abraham Lincoln where you find him smiling with all his 32 teeth? Have you found him so? No. You find a long face, a literally long face. He is very serious. I was running through an anecdote about this man. He goes to a dining hall. There is another guy whom he doesn't like, but it happens that Abraham Lincoln has to sit alongside with that guy during the dining process. Both of them have their dinner. All in a sudden, Abraham Lincoln feels like taking something from the buffet desk. So he gets himself up and he moves. He leaves the kerchief on the table and goes off. Now, the other guy who was sitting there, the guy who doesn't like Abraham Lincoln, decides to do something naughty. You know what he does? He pulls out his pen. He draws the face of a donkey on the kerchief. He closes the pen and keeps it inside and continues eating. Now, Abraham Lincoln comes back. He sees that the kerchief has the face of a donkey. He knew very well that it was this guy's work. He knew he has done some mischief. You know what he does? He places his hand on his shoulder and asks, my friend, when I was off my desk, did you wipe your face with my kerchief? This was the question posted by Abraham Lincoln. A question that is posted from a serious guy. Now tell me, can you crack jokes? Now, if you believe you are a serious person, you can still make jokes. Now, that's the example that Abraham Lincoln has set himself with. Do you get that? Now, let's slowly jump into the nuances that work for us, my dear friends. Now, there are certain techniques that people in the past have shared with us. It is all sharing of experiences, but there is always a 1 degree that is left to explore. Now, point number 1, unpredictability. If you can play well with unpredictability, you can be a humorous speaker. Is that clear? Now, let me tell you something from my experience. In the year 2015, I won the district championship for humorous speech contest. And my topic revolved around my problems with mathematics. I was not good in mathematics. So all my jokes were aligned in that line. So I go up to the stage and I say this. My teacher asked me this question in my first grade. Sham, recite numbers in order. My uncle had once taught that to me. So I started. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Great. Continue, Sham, she said. I smiled and continued. Jack, Queen, King, Ace. Now here, I found a roaring laughter in the audience. That's because they did not predict what I was going to say. Do you understand? Like, you don't let them predict what you're going to say. Now, I have a friend, like I had a friend in my school who was very naughty. Now, he is the guy who always cracks a joke and keeps silent. And I'm the fellow who laughs out and gets caught. You know what this guy did when I was a young boy? Like, it was a geography class. My geography teacher said, children, listen, this is chapter number 1 and it is an important question. Denmark is reported to have the happiest people in the world. Now, this fellow said, but if that Denmark question comes as a 10-mark question, we will be the saddest people in the world. This is what you call unpredictability. Like, you don't predict this statement after that statement. The teacher says, children, anybody can float in the Dead Sea. He says a dead body can float in any sea. Now, when you play with unpredictability, humor works. So it's not about the sense that you possess, my friends. Even if you're a serious speaker, can you play with prediction and not being able to predict what the audience would have in their mind? All right. Like, you will only have to play within these two balls. Now, what comes next? What attracts people the most? Now, I'm giving you these tips and you can follow them even if you think you don't have that sense of humor, right? The next point is about keeping your incidents short. That's very important, my dear friends. Do not explain much when it comes to humor. Keep it short and try to have it with actions. Let me give you a small chunk of the speech that I presented in 2016. I think that would help you understand what I say. I was talking about my fear for public speaking when I was young. Okay. And this is how I started. I went up to the stage. This was the first sentence that I spoke. This is how I presented. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. This is how I fumbled and failed on my first stage when I was 8 years old. My coach, who was standing behind the screen, immediately said, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I saw him and said, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My friends, when you are on the screen or on the stage, your mind works exactly like a 5-year-old kid. Let me explain. During last Diwali, I was using a candle to light a matchstick and I was playing with it. Looking at me, my 5-year-old neighbor used the same candle to light an atom bomb and he was playing with it. I saw him and shouted, throw it away. He threw the candle away. When I was 10 years old, I was expected to act as Brutus, kill Caesar, and present a talk to the Romans. Out of fear, I took out my dagger and killed a minister instead of Caesar, and I was talking about Caesar to Caesar. The boy who was acting as Caesar did not know what to do. Knowing that he should be dead for that scene, he took out his sword, killed himself, and lay on the floor. You get it, friends? Now, this is how I started. Now, what do we get? Now, all these jokes worked for me on the stage. Now, when I think about what really worked for me, I should say all these incidents were short. They were not connected to each other. Now, one joke was not dependent on the other joke. All were standalone jokes. You cannot term them as stand-up comedy unless they have a connection between all of them. You understand? So all these jokes were short. The second point is there was exaggeration in all these jokes. Now, do you think any of these happened in my life? No. None of these happened. A limited version of these happened in my life, but then the remaining was exaggerated. With international speech contest, we are not supposed to go with exaggeration, but with humorous speeches, come on, you're welcome with your exaggeration. Is that clear? And the final part where your jokes comes with actions, yeah? Now, do you remember what I said? I said, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I did not have anything else to explain. People reacted the moment I had my head on my forehead. I had my hand on my forehead. You get that? So many things can work even when you don't try humor very seriously. You can just be the person that you are and it is going to work in your favor. I should also tell you that it is very important that you connect yourself with the audience, my friends. Like when I spoke on the topic mathematics, I understood that 50% of any audience was having a problem with mathematics. And the remaining 50% agreed that the other 50% had a problem. So I was okay. I was welcome every time. But then you should also understand if the other person is able to comprehend what you speak. Now, when I won this district championship, I was participating in Colombo in Sri Lanka. The year before that, I had a very bitter experience. All that time I had been speaking to Indians. I never bothered if a foreign audience would understand my speed, pace, and my accent. You know what happened in 2015? I went to the same city, Colombo. I was there on the stage. It was an international speech contest. I had designed the first 2 minutes to be humorous and the last 4 minutes to be serious. I went up to the stage and I was speaking joke after joke, humor after humor. People were all looking at me like this. The worst thing is that your jokes do not work is not a big deal. They don't understand what you're speaking. That is the worst part. That happened when I was in 2015. So in 2016, I decided I should go to Colombo one day in advance. I should talk to a Sri Lankan and first check if he understands me. So I went, I found a guy. I said, my friend, tomorrow I'm going to present a speech on maths. Tell me if you can understand what I speak. He said, bro, I don't understand the title. This is what he said. I just said maths and he did not understand that. And then I got to know that in Sri Lanka, they call it maths. M-A-T-H-S, they pronounce it as maths. And when you say maths, they will not understand any part in the speech. You understand? So it's important that you check if your audience would get what you speak. Now, there was a part in my speech where I say, there are questions in India, right? Prove A plus B the whole square is equal to A square plus 2AB plus B square. I never said A plus B the whole square is equal to A square plus 2AB plus B square. Why should I prove that? Now, this was a part of my speech. And by the end of it, I would say my maths teacher thrashed me with a wooden scale. This is what I said. Now that guy immediately responded, what, your maths teachers use a wooden scale to punish children? Now, I got shocked when he said that. Because my shock was, he did not understand the joke was not my problem. My problem was their teachers don't use the wooden ruler to punish children. Our teachers use it. And finally, I checked with him. He said, no, we don't use tools of education to punish children. Oh, is that so? I said, then don't your teachers punish children? No, we have steel rods for that, he said. You get that? So these are places where from you get that humor. I use that humor, which I found the day before, and I tried using it on the stage. So it's everywhere, my dear friends. So what have we discussed till this moment? I said, whenever you go with jokes, ensure that even a serious person can crack jokes. Try to have unpredictability in your speech. Ensure that your jokes are short and check if you have actions that can help you. And the next and very important element that can help speakers who believe themselves to be very serious is wordplay and pun. Yeah, how beautiful they are. Now, all we need to have are the ears that can pick humor from everywhere around, my dear friends. Now, there was a place in my speech where I had to talk about an uncle that I did not like. I did not like that uncle. And I was just checking how to describe this uncle. And this is how I did. I don't like my uncle. 20 years ago, he started his career as a still cameraman. Today, he is still cameraman. You understand? Now, this is just a bit of wordplay where you say still cameraman and still cameraman. You know, I have two little kids in the apartment. They are like, one is the elder brother and the other is younger. You know, there is a tendency with these brothers always. The younger guy always repeats the elder guy. We know that, right? In actions, in words, they do that. So one day I brought both those kids and I was introducing them to my wife. I said, you know, whatever this elder guy does is repeated by the younger guy. I was just halfway through the introduction and this elder guy immediately interrupted and said, Auntie, I am Peter, he is repeater. I don't know where from this kid got that, but then this is wordplay. This is unpredictability as well. So if you can position your jokes like this, it is going to help you so well. Now, what not to do with a humorous speech? There are certain things that you can avoid so that your speech sounds a little decent. Now, there is a speaker in Tamil Nadu named Swaminathan. This guy once was talking on the radio. I was listening to him. He said, I was invited to Singapore to present a talk on anger management. I was standing in the queue in the airport. I was on the aisle where I had to drop my luggages to a serviceman and he would place it on the conveyor belt and it would be taken to the flights. I was standing in that queue, Swaminathan says. All right. And when I was standing, I found a rich man standing close to the service desk. He hands over his luggage to the serviceman. Accidentally, the serviceman drops the luggage. His duty is to take them safely and put them in the conveyor belt, and he drops it. Immediately, the rich man starts shouting, "How dare you? Do you know what is inside? Have you got any brains? Do you really know the worth of what is inside my suitcase?" He shouts. But then the serviceman looks at him and smiles. "Okay, sir, I'm sorry." This is what he does. Now, again, the rich man shouts. This guy smiles and smiles. And Swaminathan, who was standing behind in that queue, believes, I am going to conduct a session on anger management in Singapore. Whom else can teach me anger management? Look at how beautifully this guy is handling the situation. I should talk to the serviceman, he believes. And slowly, the rich man goes away after some time. Now, this guy's turn comes. Swaminathan's turn comes. The serviceman asks, "Come on, sir, give me your luggage." He says, "No, I'll give that later. First, tell me, how did you manage your anger? That fellow was shouting at you. How could you be so composed? How could you smile?" This fellow says, no, sir, that's not a big deal. No, don't say anything about that. No, I really want to know. Tell me how you managed it. Sir, different people have different ways to show their anger, sir. That's not a big deal, he says. What do you say? You were only smiling. You were not reacting. When did you show your anger? In what way could you show? Sir, that person, that rich man showed his anger in a different way, and I showed it in a different way, sir. That gentleman is going to America. His luggage is going to Japan, sir. This is what he said finally. All right. Now, this is a joke that everybody enjoyed when Swaminathan quoted this on radio and even on stage. But let me tell you, this is not a good pick when it comes to humorous speech contest in Toastmasters. Can anybody tell me why? This is a good joke. It works actually, but it's not right. It's not advisable to have.
That person was taking revenge.
Okay. So
it's
that's
a long story.
Lovely. Thank you, Mr. Srijit. That's the problem. It's a long story. Do you get that? So being a little evilish is okay with humorous speech contest. You can become a little satirical. Now, that's fine, but don't go for long narration. See, you are given with 5 to 7 minutes, my dear people. So do not go for setting the base. That never works with humorous speech contest. When you have a joke, the joke should get completed in the second sentence or the third sentence. Do not set context, do not buy time, and then finally present your joke. Now, the second don't when it comes to humorous speeches, alignment of your jokes. How do you align your jokes? Like when you prepare your speech, you know that there are some good jokes, there are some better jokes, you have the best jokes as well. Which comes first? Which one comes first? Yeah. Now, are you going to preserve the best jokes to the end so that you finish it in an appealing way, or how is it?
I guess the best should come first.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you. Whoever gave me that answer, the best should always go to the first. Why is that so? No, there was a stand-up comedian who was invited to a Toastmasters conference. You know, this guy said, whenever I am called by Toastmasters for a conference, I feel very happy because presenting a stand-up show to Toastmasters is very simple. They laugh even for silly jokes. They laugh even when there is no joke. And people laughed. He said, see, that was not even a joke. They laughed. This is how he said. Now that statement stands very true, friends. Our people are so welcoming. Our people are so receptive when you are on for a humorous speech. And when you preserve the best to the top, they would accept you so well.
You're on mute.
Am I okay now? Yeah?
Yes, sir.
So when you have the better ones and the good ones after, people would receive them the same way they receive the best jokes. This is a mob psychology. This is a psychology that applies when you are talking to a crowd. So always preserve the best to be stacked on the top of your presentation. And most importantly, follow the principle of Karate Kid. What does the movie teach us? Wuji be fun. Do you remember this Chinese statement? Wuji be fun. If anybody remembers, it says too much of something is good for nothing. Yeah. Now, this applies very much to humorous speeches. When you practice more, my dear friends, you become very mechanical when it comes to humorous speeches. Always remember to have an audience with you to practice your speeches. You cannot go on a recital note. You cannot just go A to Z and feel that you have presented the whole speech. People are not going to react. The life in the speech is in the limited number of rehearsals and practices that you take up. So that would be my final point. So to quickly wrap up, I've seen the red from the timer. So let me wrap it up. Anybody can present a humorous speech. Have unpredictability. Juggle between prediction and places where people cannot predict you. Have your incidents short. Try to have action-based humor, which would limit your task or limit your hard work when you prepare the script. And then also ensure that you have a wordplay here and there. Do not go for long incidents. And also be sure that would you be fun is a very good statement. Do not go for too much of practice. And very importantly, don't laugh for your own jokes on the stage. Don't do that. Like there is a problem with some of the speakers. They crack a joke and they laugh for themselves. You lose the credibility. You lose the chance of winning the humorous speech contest. So with this, let me close my session. I was told that I could run through a 5 to 10 minute of Q&A. If permitted, if I still have the time, I would enjoy that as well.
Yes, please. We can have a question answer session.
Thank you, ma'am. Dinner time.
I think all are stunned by your explanations.
Oh my God.
Everybody are thinking how they can give a humorous speech.
Okay.
Really, yes, you have something to ask.
Oh, hi, I have a question. So in a regular speech, whenever we borrow something from somewhere, we give a citation. Now, how do we do that with the joke which we have picked up from someone else? Like maybe from you, I have picked up a joke. So just crack it, or?
Okay, do not go for citation. Just go ahead with the joke, I would say. Do a bit of modification. You don't need to tell the audience from where you took that joke. No, that's not necessary. Just go ahead. See, with jokes, complication never works. With jokes, detailing never works. Your sentences shall not be more than 7 words. Now, if you're going to say, I heard this from Sham, I heard this from somebody. No. They're going to lose their attention. You have to be very careful with every minute. In fact, people are not going to check if that is plagiarism. People are only going to follow your energy. You don't need to cite, sir.
So I have a question.
Please, ma'am.
So in general, I do enjoy humorous speech. I would also love to, be one of these, give one of these humorous speech, but I come under the serious person, or I consider myself coming under that person. So whenever I try to attempt to, you try to be humorous or give a humorous speech or talk on something, for some reason, I try to pull myself back because I feel I do not fit into that. How do I break that kind of barrier towards
Fantastic. Very nice question. Now, how many of you have felt this? You write a joke, you wanted to take a break from the script. You went for lunch and you came back. You read the same joke that you wrote a few hours ago, and you feel that's not at all a joke. You feel dissatisfied. Like on the same thing that you wrote a few hours ago. Did you feel that? Yeah. Yes. Now, let me tell you, madam, like this is a common tendency that any man or woman tends to possess. You are being a repeated audience to your joke. That is the problem. Like everybody who feels I'm not good for jokes would have attempted that joke at least once. You would have tried making a humorous speech, and then you would have disqualified that script all by yourself because you read it for the second time and you did not find it any funny. Now, the point is, go give it a throw. Go give it a try. You will understand how much of it is being accepted by people. Most of the humorous speakers did not know they were humorous speakers until they completed their first attempt. In the year 2008, I said I will not join in a humorous speech contest. Finally, my VP Education said, if you participate in the humorous speech contest, I will count that as your P4. Those days, it was project 1, project 2. She said, I would count that as your P4. I just participated for that reason. And I was a district contestant that year. Now, I really understood that I could present in a humorous way only when I took the chance. So to you, madam, I'll tell you, you can be the next Abraham Lincoln. So go give it a try. Any serious speaker can crack jokes and people would be very receptive. And you will never find an audience like we have in Toastmasters to receive you on your first attempt in humor.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
I have
Hello,
One
sir.
question.
I'm George here.
Hello, sir.
What do your suggestion of views, sir, to add this humorous flavor in a professional setup as well to the audience during the business meeting or giving the trainings to the other engineers? So, where do you see this humorous will fit in or to engage the audience, or what type of humor we need to limit? If you can throw some light on that.
All right. Always, may it be the professional background or it be on a very light note, self-inflicting humor works. A humor that only talks about you and you should work. Like when you can pull yourself down, that would work so well. When you mock at another person, you are not received anymore. So you're in a professional background. You will have your audience listening to you when you have your audience happy. And what makes them happy? Humor makes them happy. And whom should I mock at? I should mock at myself, because that is the only person that they enjoy mocking a humor with. So self-deprecating humor. Think about that line and do it all the way. Now, when I said I killed a minister instead of Caesar and I was talking to Caesar, I was making a fool out of myself. I was the person to be blamed for that scene. So that is how it goes. Like if at all you're touching somebody else, touch that person only for a few seconds. I said, my uncle started his career as a still cameraman. Today he is still cameraman. That's it. I did not touch my uncle anymore in that script. Now, there was another instance where I mocked at a person in the audience, which was not expected. I said, do you know what is fear? I asked this question to the audience. Do you know what is fear? Madam, she got a heart attack now. That is fear. Now, this is how I say. In a crowd of 600 people, I stand there and just point out my finger and say, Madam, she got a heart attack. And she literally has a heart attack. When suddenly the speaker says, 100 people in that area of the crowd, they get a heart attack, right? But I did not touch that person again in that speech. So self-inflicting humor is the answer to the question that you asked, sir.
Yeah, very insightful, sir. Thank you.
It is not going to pull down your image. It is not going to pull down your dignity. It is only going to make it high. It is only going to elevate you further as you speak to them.
Thanks a lot.
Glad, sir.
I have one question. This
Please.
is Mahesh here. So in a humorous speech, like how many such jokes we can give? I mean, like it has to be one single story, because as you said, it can't be that lengthy. And you can't have the pattern following one after another. So how exactly it has to be worked out?
Beautiful, sir. Beautiful. In my speech on mathematics, I had 26 jokes, sir. I had 26 jokes within that 5 to 7 minute speech. And I understood that people are okay to lose the logic. People are okay even if the joke doesn't have any sense, but they want a joke in every 20 seconds. Say 20 seconds passes, they need a joke. In the next 20 seconds, if you can gift it in 5 seconds interval, they are still going to enjoy it. So think about having as many jokes as possible. People are not worried. Just show to them that yours is not a stand-up show. Yours is a humorous speech. Just show it to them. That should work. So as much as possible. The frequency of the jokes can be any high.
Thanks.
Glad, sir. And don't go for stories, sir. In fact, that is the point that you underlined as well. Do not go for stories. Like I have got 3 stories in my speech. The climax of every story is a joke. No, bad idea. They will laugh for you thrice. And all those 3 jokes would be highly qualitative. But another friend who brought in average jokes but made the audience laugh 10 times will win the contest.
Got it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Glad, sir. Are we done?
Sir, I have a question.
Please, sir.
Sir, how important it is to tie all the jokes to one central theme? Is it really important? Or if we don't tie it to a central theme, will it look like a stand-up comedy?
Okay. There is a very thin line of difference, as Toastmasters understand, between a humorous speech and a stand-up comedy, sir. I would say having a connection is great, but don't choose your title based on that theme. That would be my suggestion. Don't go for a theme. Like I did not choose mathematics as my title and then build that script. No, I did not do that. You can't do that. You will get confined to a perimeter. You will get confined to a limited number of jokes in that way. I say go for your jokes first. Pick your jokes. Don't pick your title. Pick your jokes and yes, connect them all together. Without the connection, there is a scope for the speech to fall. But yes, by the end of the day, there is also a scope that people would not find it. People don't find it. We don't look for logics in a humorous speech contest. Now, just imagine one of the jokes that I told you. I said, my first standard teacher asked me to recite numbers in order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. By the end of the joke, you understood. I misinterpreted that to be a pack of cards. Jack, Queen, King, Ace. Now imagine, do you have the number 1 in a pack of cards? You don't have. And nobody asked me why the logic was missing. And do you remember that joke? I used a candle and I was lighting a color matchstick. My neighbor was using the same candle to light an atom bomb. I said, throw it away. He threw the candle away. Nobody asked me what happened to the kid. He had the atom bomb in his hand. Nobody asked me what happened. So people are not looking for logic. They are not going to follow you through the logic. However, to be on the safe side, have at least a minor theme getting entwined all through your jokes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Glad, sir.
So one question from my side.
Yes.
How do you add, in the sense that now, say if the intent is not to have a humorous speech, okay, but to add humor to make the concept understood. So, but where do you get these jokes? In the sense, if it doesn't, I mean, say as you're writing, it doesn't hit you. What do you? How do you?
Okay. Okay. All right. Now, in my view, I would say, I can't pick a joke for my script. I can pick a script for my joke. For example, now I told you my uncle started his career as a still cameraman. Today he is still cameraman. Now this was actually told by my friend. One of my friends, when he was having tea with me, he told me this line. He gave it very accidentally. And none of my friends realized that it was a good joke. To me, it sounded like a joke. I took it, I had it with me. I presented so many speeches after that. But one day when I got to speak about my fear over public speaking, when I was able to quote my uncle in that speech, I thought this joke could find a place. So I had the joke with me. I was waiting for the script. I was waiting for the speech. The reverse never works, ma'am. You can't have a serious script and check which joke would work. That's a very tough task. Go for the easy ones. As I told you earlier, you should have the ears for humor, which is everywhere around you. That incident happened just a week ago, ma'am. This elder brother saying, I am Peter, he is a repeater. This happened 1 week ago. And none of the people who were in that scene remember that. But I remember, because I know that's a quality joke. I'm waiting for the right chance to use this joke. So all through your journey, like, have these jokes with you. You will find the right script and you can place them. Having a script and choosing the joke is difficult. It wouldn't work. That's like choosing the title and then deciding on the jokes. It's equal to that. Tough. And maybe in the process, you become very logical. You become very mechanical. You become very hardworking. None of these suits a humorous speaker. You have to be so light. You have to be so crazy. You have to be all fun-filled, mad. No connection, no logic to your jokes. Now that works only when you have the joke and look for the script. Glad.
Yes, I think we can. It is 8:45. I think we can wind up now. Lalit, you can.
Now, may I thank everyone for the attention that you've been offering to me all this time. Thank you so much, people. You made me all nervous. You did all that you could do to make me nervous. Thank you, Toastmaster Ayyappa. Thank you, DTM Rajdeep. Thank you, Toastmaster and VP Education Hannah, and the Toastmaster of the day who introduced me. It's really an honor and privilege to have been with the Bangalore Toastmasters, the club that is very important in the country, the club that has crossed over 1,200 meetings. It's definitely a privilege. I feel so gifted. Thank you for all your attention and thank you for all your questions. I found it to be a momentous occasion. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Toastmaster Shyamraj. Can we have a huge round of applause for a fantastic education session where even though we were not sticking to time, absolute justice was done to the people who stayed back. Wonderful, wonderful session. And let me tell you, and let me put it in perspective, from a guy who loves public speaking and from a guy who's not very great at humor, I think you nailed every single point on the head. I love the part where you spoke about suspense, how to use suspense as a great tool to add humor. I my takeaway for today, I know some of this, but my ultimate takeaway is always have the joke and then make the script, because I've always tried making the script first. Thank you for such recorrections. In the words of my mentor, John Bosco Abraham, who always says, the greatest speeches are never written, the greatest speeches are always rewritten. And to rewrite, you must also put that into humorous speaking as well. Thank you so much, Shamraj sir, for one more time for this wonderful session. Thank you, members, for so patiently staying back with your cameras on and listening to this wonderful education session. Thank you for the entire committee for bringing me as the TOD for this special moment. And thank you for everyone for being so patient. It's an honor and it's a privilege every time I come to speak on this amazing stage. Thank you so much. Over to you, Srijan.
Thank you, DTM Lalit, for conducting this meeting with high energy, as you always do. Great. It was really an amazing session. And thanks a lot, Toastmaster Shamraj, for such an highly engaging session, which helped our members, which really helped our members to get the tips and tricks. I am sure this is going to help them in the coming or the next humorous speech contest. I'm sure the people will be using your ideas. Thank you so much. Now I have two announcement. One is actually in our Ashirvad, our tenure was rental tenure was up to August. Now it got extended till December. Thanks to Robinson sir and Toastmaster Ayyappa for helping in that. Thank you so much. And now we are starting a speechcraft session in the second week of September, and it is going to be an offline speechcraft. And to know more about that, you can contact Toastmaster Priyanka Ranore, and you can visit our website. There will be a form to fill in that. So with that note, I think now I have to announce the awardees for this meeting. The best tackle role goes to Toastmaster Robinson D'Souza. Best role taker goes to Toastmaster Smita Roshi. Best evaluator goes to Toastmaster Simran Chopra. And best table topic speaker goes to Sureka ma'am. And best speaker, Toastmaster Lokesh. I would request everyone to unmute yourself and give a thunderous applause for all the awardees, winners. With that note, I adjourn this meeting 1284 and wishing you all a happy weekend. Have a good night. Thank you.